Okay, Assalamualaikum and Salam Sejahtera. For this talk, you can sit back and relax. I'm here just to create awareness and update you on the current requirements of doing scientific testing in animals, the Malaysian law and USM rules and regulation that govern this. This is from the Al-Quran, Surah Al-An'am. So in this world, there is place for animals and humans, not only for humans. There's space for animals and other makhluk. This quote from Mahatma Gandhi, and this is a quote from Buddha, Gautama Buddha, be kind to all creatures. Alright, so you can see that all religion encourage us to be kind to animals. So these animals, it's a fact that they have the ability to feel pain. So no ethical or moral scientists want to cause animals unnecessary suffering and distress when it can be avoided. Alright, so this is what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so the current scenario of animal research in Malaysia, the Malaysian law on the use of animals for scientific purposes, USM requirements on the use of animals for research, Animal Ethics Committee, also called ICOOC, what do? The type of proposals that need USM animal ethics approval, the core principles that we practice in animal ethics, the 3R, which I'm going to tell you later, and lastly, you as a medical doctors, clinicians, why do you need to know all this about animal studies? Alright, so the current scenario for doing animal research is changing. Previously, people may be able to do anything they want to the animals, but more and more now, people are aware about the rights of the animals. Okay, so especially in Europe, US, Australia, Singapore, awareness on animal rights when we do research or testing on them is increasing, and it has come to Malaysia also. In Malaysia, we have the Animal Welfare Act 2015 that has been passed in Parliament and enforced July 2017. And under this act, there's a specific section, Section 26, Part 4, that specifically addresses the use of animals for scientific purposes. And when we say scientific purpose, it includes research, testing, teaching, demonstration. Now first, let's look at the Malaysian law, the legislative requirement on the use of animals for scientific purposes. Okay, so this is actually the book on Undang-Undang Malaysia, Laws of Malaysia, on Animal Welfare Act 2015. Alright, so with this act, we have an Animal Welfare Board that has been formed to promote welfare and responsible ownership of animals. Actually, this law governs a lot of things, basically everything about animals and us, the interaction of us and animal. It's not only related to research, but it includes things of you having pets, okay? Having pets, animals that we breed to eat, for example, chickens, lamb, cows, all those animals that we breed to provide us food. It covers everything. Transport of animals. Alright, so the use of animal for scientific purposes is one aspect that is covered in this big law lah. Alright, so this I take from Section 26, Part 4 of the Act. Okay, definitely you don't need to remember this. Okay, so it's specifically about animal use in scientific purposes. Alright, for research, testing, teaching, demonstration. Alright, so it says that no person shall use animals for scientific purposes unless steps are taken to ensure the physical, health and behavioral needs of the animals are in accordance with the Act. And the animal shall receive, where practicable, treatment that alleviate any unreasonable or unnecessary pain. We do understand that when you do research or testing in animals, sometimes we can avoid having some pain or causing some distress to them. But any degree of pain or distress, we try to reduce it to the minimum. And then no person shall use animal for scientific use unless the person is licensed by the board. All right, what's this thing about license? In the future, what is in the planning is that anyone who wants to do research on animal need to get a license from the Animal Welfare Act. It's not that you get a license that allows you to practice your whole life or 1 year, but for each proposal that you have, you need to get one license from the Animal Welfare Board. And how does the Animal Ethics Committee come into this? Alright, before the board give you a license to do the research on the animal, you have to approach the animal ethics first. Alright, submit your proposal to them. Only when the animal ethics approve, then you need to furnish that to the animal welfare board. Then only you can get the license, which means that getting the approval of your proposal by the Animal Ethics Committee is a prerequisite of getting license from the board to do a project on animals. Yeah. All right. So that's why you're having this talk. All right. And also the Animal Welfare Board has also released guidelines on the use of animals for scientific purposes. I'm one of those who has been called to scrutinize the guidelines. Okay, so the guideline is called MyCode, Malaysian Code of Practice for the Use of Animal for Scientific Purposes, and this has been produced by the Animal Welfare Board. In there, you have guidelines on how to do research in animals, and they have some specific sections. For example, if you do tumor studies and wound studies, and when to sacrifice, when to give pain relief, and all those things. Okay, right. This MyCode is available when you go to USM iCode website. You can click that there on MyCode, and it will come out. Okay, so you can use that as a guideline when you do your proposal. When we assess a proposal, we will assess that to make sure that they actually conform to the requirements of the MyCode guidelines. And nowadays, you cannot just breed animals for scientific purposes. You want to breed animals, you need license. Okay, so if you want to breed animals also, you need USM ethical approval. All right, and as usual, when it's law, when it involves the law, if you contravene the provision of the law, there will be penalty. And for this act, the penalty is not chicken feet. The penalty is not a bit, not less than 20,000. It can be more, or you can also be jailed. I think now we've seen cases where people are in prison because of cruelty to animals, which I think is very fair. All right. So the process, this Animal Welfare Act, the process of licensing activities has started. But it doesn't involve research activities, scientific purposes by the universities yet. Okay, they go part by part because there's a lot of things that needs to be licensed. I think they go to the one that is what they feel is more important first lah. Okay, so you can see here, aktiviti penginapan haiwan, aktiviti menunggang dan mengepung haiwan, animals in captivity, aktiviti regarding tempat kurungan dan perlindungan haiwan, selling of live animals. Okay, so things like pet shop. Nowadays, pet shop, there's no clear regulations on them, but with this act, there'll be more tighter controls of things like pet shops and such things lah. All right. So for scientific purposes, the license has not started. All right. So you want to do animal research. What do you need to do? You have to plan your animal study well. Okay, when you plan your animal study, you also consider the animal welfare, the animals that you're going to be using in your study. All right, and then you have a proposal, just like you make proposal for your grant. But the proposal that you submit to us, Animal Ethics, must be very detailed in terms of what you are going to do to the animals. All right, until the time of death. after the time of death, then we don't care so, we don't really bother so much lah. We want to know what you're going to do to the living animals. Okay, it must be detailed. You need to know how to perform animal research ethically. How are you going to know that? Well, this is one way lah. You get an introduction and awareness talk, and certainly the ARAS. ARAS is USM Animal Service Center. They provide a breed animal, so they intermittently, or well, throughout the year, they have workshops or training modules for you to learn how to handle animals. Then I think that they also have a bit about ethics lah. Okay, that was the law regarding animals. Now we go to USM requirements about research on animals. Why is animal ethics approval needed in USM? To be able to conduct your studies, because it's a university research requirement. Okay, there's emails, there's hebahan announcement on this by the RCMO, USM, Research, Creativity and Management Office, that says that there's 2 ethical committees in USM, human and animal. So if you want to do research in human animals, you must get the approval from this committee first before you touch the human or touch the animals. Otherwise, you you break the regulation of the university. Alright, and then to obtain animals from ARAS. ARAS, Animal Research and Service Center. This one is where they breed, they provide animals for your research, and also where you put your animals, where you conduct your research. Okay, you cannot just buy animals from pet shop, or your friend breed some rats get from them. Cannot. We must get specific lab animals for our research, right? Grant this. Okay, so only when you get ethics approval from Animal Ethics Committee, you give them to the ARAS, then only they will give you the animals. Otherwise, they will not give you animals. They don't allow you to place the animals in ARAS. We have a very good relationship with ARAS, and we work together. Grant disbursement, when we do research, usually we have a grant, money, to conduct the research. It can be from USM or it can be from outside USM. So it doesn't matter where you get the money from, inside USM, outside USM. If you want to use RM1, 50 cents from the grant, you must have animal ethics approval first. Otherwise, you cannot use the grant at all. Publication, all publication now needs animal ethics approval. If not, you cannot publish your work, then there's no point doing the research. Alright, short sendiri, when you do research, you want people to know the result so that it can be used for good in human or other animals. Yeah, pass your master's, PhD, and med dissertation. When you write your dissertation or your publication, you must for your dissertation you must put the approval from the JPAM, human or animal ethics, together with your dissertation. Otherwise, you'll be asked for it from the examiners. If you don't have it, you may not pass your master's, PhD dissertation at all. It's a serious offense lah. Yeah. Alright, so this is the announcement that I said, made by the director, RCMO, on the need for ethical clearance when you want to do research. Yeah, there's 2 ethics committee. Now, what is Animal Ethics Committee? Our official name is USM ICOOC. Alright, what's this strange name? Stands for, it's USM Institutional Animal Care and Use Committee, also known as USM ICOOC, USM Animal Ethics Committee. If I say ICOOC, many people don't know what it is lah. So, or in Bahasa Melayu, USM JKPPH, Jawatankuasa Penjagaan dan Penggunaan Haiwan Institute, CUSM. Okay, right. So you don't need to know this. What's category A, B, C, D? Just to inform you. So the ICOOC members include a chairperson, of course. Okay, this is most ICOOC membership consists of this category. So USM also included. Category A is people with veterinary science degree, vets lah. We have 3. We have 2 in health campus and 2 from the health campus and 1 from the Penang campus in the committee. No, we have 1 from here in the committee, 2 from Penang in the committee. Yeah. Category B, people who has conducted scientific activities in animal. Often, these people have higher degree in research. Usually, it's the academics lah, academician, lecturers. Yeah. Category C is people who have experience in furthering animal welfare. That means they are used to taking care of animals. Okay. So for us, we have two people in category C, and they are veterinary officers, vets, working with the DVS, Kelantan Department of Veterinary Services. So they are vets, all right, and they're not attached to USM, so they're impartial. And category D is layperson who, that means anybody who not involved in scientific research on animals. For this first category, we have an ex-headmistress. All right. So you see that the Animal Ethics Committee not only consists scientific people in USM. We need to have outside people. They are impartial. So sometimes when you have questions, when you come to the Ethics Committee to talk to present your proposal, sometimes the comments don't come from us USM, from outside people. They want to make sure that what we are doing is fair. Considering the animal welfare. Okay, so this is the current composition of our USM iCook, and you can see that there are people of different specialties. There are clinicians, there are scientists, and they come from many PTJ, many schools, okay, include PPSP, Medical Sciences, Dental Sciences, Center for Drug Research. We also have a surgeon, neurosurgeon in there, School of Pharmacy, Health Sciences, School of Biology, and of course, these non-USM people, okay. So many of these people are professors, people who are senior, people who are busy, some of them are deans, director. So when you make your research proposal, please make it nicely presentable, because these people are very busy people and they need to take time to look at the proposal. Don't just give to some research assistant who's not used to doing this, and then you just sign a form. So because these people are very busy people, need to spend time on your proposal, so make a good proposal. All right, otherwise we have lots of comment to address. You may be asked to come to our meeting to answer some of our concerns. Yeah. Okay. So what do we do as a committee? All right. So we ensure on behalf of USM the use of animals complied with my code. This is the guidelines from the Animal Welfare Board, and the proposal incorporates these cardinal principles of animal ethics, that is placement, reduction, and refinement. To do this, you write a written proposal. Investigators write written proposals. So we scrutinize actually the written proposal. Two people will look at each proposal. All right. One is an academician, and the other one is a vet. So two people actually look at the proposal and comment on the proposal. So we can revoke approval. That means you may have approval, but then we find out that you're not following what you say you're going to do. You don't conform to my code, or you say you want to do A, but the researcher do B. So we can stop the approval of stop the study lah. Yeah, revoke approval. And if we see that there's unnecessary distress or the animal is suffering too much, we can authorize emergency treatment or euthanasia of the animals. We also need to monitor and inspect places that house the animals in USM. Alright, what sort of proposal need USM iCook approval? Use of living. The word living is important. Alright, dead animals don't need to come to us for ethics approval. Living animals by staff, students, undergrad, postgrad, for location, whether inside, outside USM. And the definition of animals as per the Animal Welfare Act 2015 is any living things, apart from human, including animals, birds, aquatic animals, fish, reptiles, insects, but do not include wild animals under the Wild Animal Conservation Act. Alright, so for those animals under the Wild Animal Conservation Act, you need to get more than one approval. You need to get our approval, but before that, you must get approval from this an act also. Alright, otherwise you'll be breaking the Malaysian law, because this is an act. So although the definition of animals is based on this act is this, but all I cook in Malaysia, including USM, we do not include invertebrate. We do not include invertebrate. That means if you're doing studies on mosquito, you don't need to come to us for ethics approval. Alright. Alright. So proposal that need USM, I cook approval are those where the principal investigator from USM. Although you want to do the study in UIA, other places outside USM, but if the principal investigator is from USM, must get USM ethics approval. Animal placed within USM, alright, even though you are co-investigator, but the animals is placed in USM, need USM ICOOC approval. Funding is from USM, even though the study is done somewhere else, need USM ICOOC approval. And student registered with USM, even if the study is conducted elsewhere, but student registered in USM, need USM ICOOC approval. Alright, based on what I've informed you just now, okay, you can see from this figure many animals, and you try and see if you want to do studies on these animals, which one you need to get USM ethics approval. Usually my previous synchronous interactive lecture, I will actively engage students for this slide, but since I cannot do that, you can try yourself, and if you're not sure, you can email me for the confirmation, aidakb, aidakb@usm.my. So you need to refer to my previous two slides to be able to answer this. Alright, so these are some of the animals. Okay, this is the investigator. They want to show structures of the heart to the students, but they cannot get the human heart, so they want to get a cow's heart. So the investigator or the lecturer go to the market, go and see the person who sells meat, buy after slaughtering. They tell, okay, I want the heart, so buy the heart, take to the lab, and the rest of the animals, the meat is sold in the market. So which one of these situations need ethical approval? Try and answer it. Alright, so from my previous two slides, you should be able to answer this. Now the principles of these are the cardinal principles when we assess proposal on animals lah. Firstly, replacement of animals with other methods, reduction in the number of animals used, refinement, reduce distress and pain in the animals. Alright, the first one is replacement, which means we do not use live animal for our project. We may use in vitro techniques, cell lines. Actually, currently, there's a lot of experiments that you can do without using living animals. For example, if you want to see the effect of some substances on cells, for example, fibroblasts on the skin, you can buy you have in vitro technique. You buy the cell lines or skin specimens. Certainly there are ways you can look at the effect of substances on skin. So you don't need to do on animals. And you have mathematical computer models, tissues and cell. For example, I look at the effect of certain substances on aorta, and look at the functional response of the aorta. So I don't need to use live animals. And sometimes some data is better to do in human directly, maybe more useful. Alright, so there are many toxicology studies now that you need not do in live animals. Okay, and toxicology studies may not be so pleasant. Sometimes they're not so pleasant because you give high dose of drugs to the animals, and you see the response. So nowadays there are replacement toxicology studies that do not use live animals, Okay, so in fact, some countries, some people say they want to do toxicology studies because it's the regulatory requirement to sell the product in the market. But in some places, for example, Europe, if they know that you do animal testing for your product, you may not be able to register there for some products. Okay, some countries do not want you to test on animals, but sometimes you still need to do toxicology, certain toxicology studies. Yeah, so there are situations where you must do also. And certainly in our website, USMI Cook website, we actually have um, information on toxicity studies that can be used in non-living animals. I'll show that to you later when you go to our website. Alright, reduction, that means you try to use the minimum number of animal necessary for scientific validity. Alright, for that you may need to justify through sample size calculation or previous studies on the same parameter. Alright, so usually animal studies, we don't need so many sample size, not like humans. You need 100 or 50 humans. So in animal studies, one group, often we just need 6, 7, 8 or 9, okay, animals only. Reduction means if there are already studies done, the same studies done using animals, you're not supposed to repeat the same studies. Alright, and optimize use of animal. For example, one project, you may have one student looking at the brain, nervous system, and another student may look at the cardiovascular system, taking the heart and also the blood vessel from the animals. So you optimize use of animals so that you don't need 20 animals for brain, 20 animals for cardiovascular system. Refinement, that means in your methods, you incorporate methods that reduce pain or distress or adverse impact on the animals. For example, if the proposal involves painful procedures, that means you must give anesthesia or analgesia to the animals. Okay, and when certain sort of studies, we may want humane endpoints, which, for example, tumor studies. You must set how big the tumor you need to sacrifice the animals. If the tumor ulcerate, okay, then you need to sacrifice animals. So we have to determine for some sort of studies, we need to determine at which time point, at what point we need to sacrifice the animals, although the study has not been completed in the animal. Alright, okay. Refinement also means proper husbandry. Not husband, husbandry. The cage must be relatively clean, the size must be appropriate, and enough space for the animals to move around comfortably. And usually, for animals like rats, mice, we don't put them solitary, one animal in a cage. They are sociable animals. We usually put 2 or 3 animals in a cage so that they can play with each other, make them happier and not so stressed. Then otherwise, it may affect our study also. Yeah. Alright. You must always think when you have long holidays, weekend, who's going to take care, who's going to feed the animals. Alright. Okay, I'm nearly finished. Many of you are doing MMed. You are doctors treating humans, and you're going to be clinicians and specialists. Alright, and why the heck you need to listen to this lecture on animal studies? Okay, so now if you are in universities, you need to do research, and a lot of time many will do human research, but sometimes you need to do animal research to get some information that you cannot get by doing human research. Okay, so even in KKM now, they still need to do a bit of research, and some KKM people still do research on animal. For example, those who work in IMR, Institute for Medical Research. Yeah? So some clinicians will be doing research in animals. Okay, so alright, okay. So we have now quite a number of MEd students doing research on animals, producing dissertation with their clinical supervisor, and many of some are not experienced in doing animal studies. All right, so what to do in that situation where you MEd candidates, doctors, and your clinical supervisors, specialists, doctors have no experience in doing animal research. Does it mean that you cannot do animal studies? You can, but why not collaborate with people who knows how to do animal work, all right, to help you. And then when you want to do animal research, especially if you have no experience with working on animal studies, you need to do a thorough literature review on the methodology. All right, so you need to choose methods that is internationally acceptable. All right, internationally acceptable, and there may be a few methods to get the same objective of your study. So choose the one that is causing less distress to the animals without affecting your scientific validity. All right, and MEd students, clinicians are busy. Doing animal studies can be time consuming because you need to take care of the animals. You need to take care of the cages, you need to feed them, give them drinks. So time may be a constraint. So you may need to employ assistants and pay them to take care of the animals. Okay, and if you want to handle the animal yourself, you want to feed them, you want to take blood from them, please go for training. You need to go to training. Our ARAS provide modules can train you to handle animals. Okay, because if you have no experience, please collaborate. Because we've seen situation where only a clinical supervisor and MEd do work on animals, and this can cause unnecessary pain, death in the research animals. That can be avoided. Alright, let's look at our website. Okay, we go. Okay, alright. Can you see? Oh, I guess you can see this. Alright. So this is our website, USM iCook. You just Google USM iCook, and then it will bring you here. So this is our website. Just now I mentioned to you about the Malaysian Code of Practice for the Care and Use of Animal for Scientific Purposes, MyCode, produced by the Animal Welfare Board. If you click on this, the book will come up. It's a thick book, so you can click on this, and there's a lot of guidelines on how to do research in animals. Alright, so on our website, we also tell when is the next meeting, deadline for submitting the proposal. Okay, alright, and here is the one that I mentioned to you, non-animal alternatives. Alright, so this basically give you alternative if you want to do toxicity studies, and you don't want to do, if you want to do toxicity studies but you don't want to do in living animals, so you can choose any one of these studies. For example, you want to do dermal toxicity, you can replace in vitro dermal absorption methods, and these are the regulatory bodies that accept the results of these in vitro techniques. US accept, Europe accept. Okay, right. Next, okay. Alright, training. Okay, this is the training program provided by ARAS. Okay, on how to feed animals, how to take blood. Okay, and then meetings. Okay, this will tell you when we'll have our meetings and deadline for proposal submission. This is our forms, application form. We also have we also guide how to fill the form. All right, and this is the flow chart for our application process. Okay, so you submit your soft copy first to the secretariat. Our secretariat, everything is here. The email, everything is here. She will have a quick look at it. Once complete, then she asks you to submit the hard copy, right? And then the secretary, the pengurusi, or the timbalan pengurusi will look at the initial proposal, all right, and then delegate it to be for um, two reviewers, all right. Give the proposal to reviewers, two reviewers, one vet and also one academic reviewer, all right. And then the proposal is reviewed, and then we have our meeting here. So the reviewer will give comments that is written in the agenda of the meeting. So sometimes we want more clarification on the proposals, so the investigators are invited to present the proposal to us at the meeting. So most of the proposals are accepted, some are modified. We rarely reject proposal, but we have done so because it's really not feasible. Some proposals are not feasible at all, but we seldom reject proposals. Yeah. So, all right. And then after the meeting, we within 2 weeks we will come up with a letter, giving telling the investigator whether the proposal is approved or needs some modification, and whether it's rejected, which is there. Okay. Right. We also have frequently asked questions here, which are questions that a lot of the investigators ask us. All right. Okay. Okay, back to my slides. Okay. Now, these are some of the ethical considerations in doing animal research. Yeah. So, you should not use animal in more than one study. You cannot pass. After I finish with this animals with these studies, I pass to my friend to do another project with animals. No, it should not be that way. After one study, usually the animals are humanely sacrificed. Yeah. And avoid repeated surgical procedures on the same animals. Okay. You should be trained if you handle the animal yourself. Oops. Okay. Okay, I've lost my slides. Okay, right. All right. Okay, and if you do toxicity studies, it must be based on internationally accepted guidelines. Okay, and another thing is that one more thing that I forgot to write is that death should not be an endpoint for animal studies, which means that, for example, you plan to do one study, you want to give a certain substance to animals and see how many percent died because of the substance. So that generally death is death as an endpoint to a study is avoided. Okay, we avoid that sort of study. Okay, all right. All right. With that, I think that's all I'm sharing with you. So thank you for your attention.